Welcome to yet another episode of Applied Salesforce. In this episode, I shall walk you through a micro project which involves working with assignment rules, flows, and importantly, the nuances around order of execution. Without much ado, let's dig in. You, an enterprising Salesforce admin, joined upquotient.com, a career builder, transformer, and an amplifier company. That happened very recently. And your credentials have not been created yet, so on both the sandboxes and the live system. As an admin, right, you have been tasked with simulating and analyzing the root cause of the below ambiguous behavior. Kali, the director of service, offered to explain you the scenarios. So release O1 requirement, so it means the requirement was part of the first release. It goes this way: when customers who are considered high value logs a case, then the ownership of case should be with HVCQ. So the high value customers are, when they log the case, those cases are identified with the help of a checkbox named HVC. If the checkbox is checked for the specific case, it means the case belongs to HVC, high value customers. And it also means that the ownership of such cases should be with HVC queue. That's because the members of that queue are well trained to handle cases belonging to high value customers. This was part of the release one. And several releases after, to be very specific, the release '07, you had another similar requirement, okay, which stated that all cases logged should be owned by the creator of the case. Okay, and what they experience now. So again, Kali offered to explain their current experience. Okay, and that is, any case that is logged is owned by the creator. Okay, so anything that is logged now is owned by the case creator. So that is the current behavior, and you have been asked to analyze the root cause. Let me read through. Additionally, Kali stated the developers who built this requirement were different, and both of them are not with upquotient anymore. So that adds to a level of complexity, because now the developments happened in a disconnected fashion. There had not been any seamless handover, so neither the admin or the developer who built the release '07 requirement had no clue to what was built earlier. Okay, so just to add, it adds some complexity and confusion and uncertainty. And he also stated flow and assignment rule were used for the solution. So this is good information, right? So you don't need to really dig deeper and look at all the other features through which you could have built this. So it is clearly called out, but does not know where and how it is implemented. That's still okay. Remember, you do not have access to the live system to go and examine. You may have to simulate the same in your dev org. How would you explain the behavior convincingly? Okay, so this sums up the entire challenge for this micro project. And this is customary for you to do a to sift through the web, to understand different ways the assignment rules and flows could be implemented, because assignment rule would have been a default choice, because it it is built to you know find an appropriate owner based on the some conditions, right? So that would have been a default choice. And the second is the more powerful flows. Okay, so you have now two things to implement before you could simulate it. And And there is also an important thing to understand about the order of execution. So this typically means the events and operations that gets executed, you know, in certain order when a specific record gets saved. So any record that gets saved in Salesforce, this follows certain, order. Okay, so there are multiple operations and, events that gets fired along the way from save to commit. Okay, so that we will look at. I've created infographics which calls out these, and I've also, added additional elements so that, it is clear when and, and how these events fire and in which order. Okay, so we will look at these aspects one after the other. So the solution is, um, first you create um, okay, you create a checkbox named HVC on the case object. Then you also create a queue named HVC and then add appropriate members. Then create an assignment rule, create a case and set it to HVC and ascertain the owner is indeed HVC. So this is, you know uh, uh, kind of a test to see if assignment rule work. And next you also create a flow, the after record triggered flow, and build a logic to set the case owner, always to the case creator, and activate the flow. So these two steps you do it in the flow. Okay, so we complete this first and then we look at the order of execution. Okay, so let me flip over. You may follow along. The first thing is about the, you know uh, r- probably about the field. So let me check that I already created a field on the case object. It's a checkbox field named HVC. I'll show that. It's a case object, the fields and relationships, search for HVC. It is a very simple checkbox field that's done. And then create a queue. The queue is named HVC, and I've also it is part of the case object. And I've also added certain users. That's not so important. Okay, the members inside the queue, or what is important is you created a queue. And the next one is to look at the assignment rule. So I have created an assignment rule and activated it. And we look at the rule entries. The first entry is, the if the case HVC checkbox equals to true, assign the case to HVC queue. It's a straightforward, simple case assignment rule. So that's built. And uh, we can also check if this works seamlessly. Let me go ahead and create a case and have the case HBC checkbox field checked, and I'd see the case should be owned by HBC queue. So origin as phone, case reason, HBC is checked, type is mechanical product, you choose something random. Okay, should be owned by HBCQ. So this if the assignment rule that we created works perfectly fine. You don't forget to check this checkbox, assign using active assignment rule. Then only this case record would be subjected to the assignment rule. Let me save this and wait until the case gets created, and you could see the case owner is HVC. Perfect. Okay, now we go ahead and create a flow, because that's what we discovered. The release O1 requirement, we do it with assignment rule, and the O7 requirement, we do that using flow. Okay, so two powerful tools. So we go create a flow, new flow, add the steps one after the other. I choose record triggered flow, click on create, and the object is obviously going to be case. And I wanted this to happen when a record gets created. That's when I wanted to assign the ownership to the case creator. And I don't have any conditions here. I use the after save, click on done, add the step. So update triggering record. So I wanted to update the case owner on the record which triggered this flow. So I choose this option and the label update case owner, and have this description owner to case creator. Use the case record that triggered this flow. Of course, there's absolutely no filter condition, but of course I need to modify the owner, right? So owner ID. Owner ID is going to be populated with the user's ID who creates the case. So I have the user global variable, drill down on it and just use the ID of the user. Okay, so that's it. So our flow is done. All you have to do is to save, give it a name, update case owner, update case owner to case creator, click on save, and we activate this. So that's all done. So now, fingers crossed, we go test this. Okay, this is simulation. So ideally, even if it is HVC or case, the case owner should not be HVCQ, but it should still be the creator. So Kali is the creator, Shiv Kalidasan is the creator, so he should be the owner. So let's do that. New case origin is phone and product, any random product, type is anything. HVC important to check, and this is also important to check. So here I'd say that the case owner should be the case creator. Is this so? Right. So check that. If it is so, then we simulated the situation perfectly. Let's try that out. Fingers crossed. Click save. I should see Shiva Kalidasan is the owner. Perfect. So it means that we successfully simulated it. And how would you explain it? Because you need to justify why it happens. So you need to understand what happens under the hood. Okay, for that, let's flip over. And this is something we call that as order of execution. So it typically determines, the different events that occur between save of a specific record and before it gets committed to the database. So couple of things which is interesting and which is relevant to this particular micro project are the the events that I have highlighted here. So the before save record triggered flow, fine. So we haven't used that, but this is the point when any logic that you have developed inside before save record triggered flows would fire. The first would be the system validation rule, and it goes on and on. And the assignment rule, you could see this assignment rule gets fired here, while the after save record triggered flows fire way later. So what typically happened under the hood was the assignment rule did assign the case to HVCQ here at this point, and while the record was traversing through all these events, it hit upon after save record triggered flows. And here I call this as an interrupt because it allows you to plug your logic. So our logic is to uh, update the owner ID to the owner to the user who created the case, right? So that is what happened. So here the assignment rule updated it to HVCQ. However, the record traversed and it reached after save record triggered flow event, and at this point it got overwritten by the case creator. The owner field got overwritten by the case creator. Okay, so this is important. So unless until you understand the order of execution, you would not be able to clearly explain the behavior, the kind of ambiguous behavior. Okay, so requirement O1 we built using assignment rule, and requirement O7 we built using after save record triggered flow. And the reason, the root cause is because were these events a lie, and were these events when these events exactly fire. Okay, so with that note, we we were able to explain the behavior perfectly, convincingly, and that ends the discussion on this micro project. Thank you, folks. Take care. Bye bye.